Davi Santos is an actor best known for his role as the Gold Ranger in the TV series Power Rangers Dino Charge. Now he's starring as Gabe in CBS's all-access new series Tell Me a Story. The show takes our most beloved fairy tales and reimagines them as a dark and twisted psychological thriller set in modern-day New York City. Let's take a look.
I'll be okay.
Cops brought me in. I'm not going down for that.
You don't threaten me.
This is wrong.
I know.
Everyone, please give a warm BUILD Brunch welcome to Davi Santos.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for coming for a Halloween episode. I see you dressed up.
Yeah, guys, I didn't get the memo.
Yeah,
We should take off that mask.
Yeah, I have. It's just like my skull, actually.
Oh my God.
I was impressed by that. But you're here to talk about this new show, this really exciting show for CBS All Access, which CBS All Access I'm really fascinated with. Can you talk to us about the show?
Yeah, sure. So Tell Me a Story is 3 different fairy tales. Right. And Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, and the 3 Little Pigs. Right. But they're sort of taking place in the underbelly of New York. And there's no supernatural powers or anything. It's just like crime, punishment, passion, and like the underbelly of town.
And when you think about it, those 3 fairy tales, though, are children's stories, actually have kind of a dark element to them.
They do. Yeah, and that's what Kevin Williams and our showrunner like so deeply connected with, was sort of refinding what was it about those fairy tales that was so dark, and how does it apply to today? Because apparently those fairy tales actually came from the atmosphere politically and socially of the time.
That's so interesting. And how did you get involved? What drew you to this project in particular?
I mean, the pilot episode was such a high-octane experience. I kind of just fell in love with it right away. The character as well. I mean, just being this party monster, club-going dancer in New York, and then just having one of the worst things happen to him in a penthouse, and before you know it, he's being chased by the police, the mob, and having to connect with only one person in his life was just such a... I connected with him the most in that regard. I mean, we're talking about someone that had like these great dreams and to chase art and move to New York, and like something that a lot of us have in common. But we kind of pick up when he's already kind of lost into this world of just drugs and parties and getting home at 8 a.m. after the after party, you know, and then stuff happens, and then he has to sort of find love again and his life. So, I mean, it's a real story, and I think that's what kind of makes it so haunting.
Yeah. And what was it like working with the cast?
Amazing. I mean, I worked primarily, since it's Hansel and Gretel, right? Primarily with, and then turns out it took me like 4 episodes to realize I'm Gretel, right? Obviously. It's kind of obvious. It's like Hannah and Gabe, but I was like, oh yeah, so Hansel, I'm Hansel, obviously. It's like, no, I'm not. And
you're
like,
Gretel.
That's so cool. Yeah. It's great. Danya Ramirez, who plays Hannah, is a phenomenal actress and human being, and I'm primarily doing my scenes with her, so it's been wonderful to just bounce off of someone who's just like so cool and instinctual and wonderful.
Yeah. Do you have any particularly like fun moments that stand out to you from the process?
Ooh, I mean, it's kind of funny how an experience that could be so kind of terrible, narratively speaking, can be kind of a lot of fun at the same time. Like even, I mean, even like the drug scenes, just to like the first silly thing was like V8. Like V8, V12, you know? So we just had V8 powder, and then so the prop guy comes over and he's like, look, it's V8, it's good for your joints, it's good for your membrane, it'll actually give you a little bit of energy too, nothing too crazy, so feel free to really snort it, you know what I mean?
So awesome.
So I was like, okay, great, and then by the end of it, I'm like, do we have any more?
Like, I'm feeling stronger.
Yeah, I'm feeling great, I feel mobile, it's like 7 in the morning, like we were shooting in it was like the 30th floor of a penthouse on the east side, and the sun was coming up on one side, and it was just gorgeous, and I was on V8, and it was just perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cool. And you were the Gold Ranger in Power Rangers Dino Charge.
Yes!
And I've seen you because I'm a babysitter, and my favorite little boy, Gio, is obsessed with like that season, that Power Rangers. He loves you. So
Gio.
right now, I'm really cool.
This is for you, Gio!
Gio, look at me, the coolest babysitter in the world, next to your favorite Ranger.
He's like, that man isn't my babysitter.
Who is that man?
Crying in the back.
He's like, what's happening? So how is it being a Power Ranger? And like, do people stop, like, do kids stop you on the street and they're like, look?
It's sometimes kids, it's sometimes their parents, you know? And then I'm like, you don't have kids, do you? No, but it's great. I mean, it's like one of those weird dream come trues that I haven't really thought of in such a long time, you know? It's like, that's what like being James Bond. You know, I wanted to do that when I was like 10. I haven't really thought of it much. And then it's like you go on the audition. And but yeah, so like the Power Rangers, it wasn't until I was standing like in one of the last episodes around, like some of them had morphed, some of them hadn't, and I was like in this cave, and there was like the lab, and all the Rangers were there, and it was like, oh man, I'm a Power Ranger, you know? And I'm the one that freaks out when I meet the ones that I grew up with, because sometimes I go to a convention, and then there's like, you know, my original green or red, and usually I'm used to like, oh hey, yeah, it was a great time, thank you so much for coming, and then when I saw them, I'm like, guys, I'm one of the Power Rangers. What are we right now?
You're like, we're all peers.
Yeah, we're peers, exactly. We're all equal.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
it was a really good time. And we shot in New Zealand.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So
How
it was
long
like-
did you have to stay in New Zealand?
8 months.
Did you do the Lord of the Rings tour?
I did for a very short time because it was also this, what are they called when you have the volcanic water and mud that comes out of the ground? It was really close
Mordor?
to
Magma.
Oh,
Magma? Magma bath.
Magma.
The Brainiac knows.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna take over the world. Yeah, so that was really close to it. So I ended up just covering myself with like the Redeemial, I was gonna say magma, I swear it was.
You're like V8.
The mud.
V8.
V8.
Yeah,
I'm like, Demio. I'm like, that's a good word.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Remedial is actually
Oh.
what I meant to say, but yeah. Someone was like, Redeemial. Yeah, and I ended up just burning my face because it was just like, you can't leave it on your face too.
Right.
Or anywhere else on your body.
Scary.
Yes.
And you have a film, Polaroid, coming out in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So Polaroid was this like crazy experience. We shot it in Nova Scotia. And I mean, it's like one of those plot lines that you're kind of familiar with. You know, it's like, oh, you take a camera, it takes your photo, and then before you know it, your soul is mine.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
But it was found. Oh, I love that.
That was an episode from like Goosebumps.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought of too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was how it came about. It was like this Norwegian director and writer that made a short film and then brought it to the West Coast, and they won the Los Angeles Film Festival. And then for like one of those rags to riches stories, they got the whole film. They you know, Dimensions was like, you guys could direct it and produce it, and we'll give you the money for it, and here's a feature movie. So I think what's going to be interesting about it is A, the cast, which was really awesome to work with, and B, how it's filmed. So I look forward to, you know, scaring everyone.
Yeah.
Double
Yeah,
scare.
you're a scary guy. You like scaring people.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm still gonna like
still rip off the
Just like
mask.
rip out your gut.
One question went. Intestines
just
spilling
my own
out.
hand just comes out of the chest. Like,
We admire the dedication.
Yeah.
But this is on the show, Tell Me Stories, on CBS All Access. And
Yes,
that is a
yeah.
totally, relatively new streaming service. It is not like the CBS network. Can you tell people like how they can watch this show?
yeah. I mean, you just go to see. It's like sort of the Netflix format. So a show comes out, either it's going to be binge-worthy. I'm not binge-worthy, but either you can binge or you can't because it'll come out once a week. So this will come out. I mean, it just came out today, Halloween, Wednesday. But then, but then it'll come out on Thursdays, and you just go on CBS.com, and then they give you like a free trial period for CBS All Access, and then you gain like 10,000 different CBS shows and all of their original content. And what's cool about CBS All Access too is that it kind of allows it nurtures a lot of creativity and a little bit more edgy work too. So it's some really cool material out there. Like Star Trek and then Us and quite a few shows, in fact.
We love that. We love creativity.
So exciting.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.